Hello everyone. In the previous classes, we saw the theory of guna in connection with critics like Bharata, Bhamaha, Dandin, Utpada, Vamana, Anandavarthana, Kundaka, and so on. Today, we are going to see the theory of guna as conceived by Mammata. Both Mammata and Anandavarthana are of the same opinion on the question of Kavya Gunas or poetic merits. Like Anandavarthana, Mammata also agrees with the view that there are only three gunas, namely Madhurya, Ojas, and Prasada. It is also important to note that Mammata rejects all the Artha gunas mentioned by Vamana, citing the reason that they are not gunas in themselves, rather, they are mere negations of some poetic defects or doshas. For Mammata, Madhurya is found originally in the Sringara rasa, especially in Sambhoga Sringara. It can also be found present in increasing degrees in rasas such as Karuna, Vipralambha Sringara, and Shanta rasas. He is of the view that the quality called Ojas resides generally in the Veera rasa or the aesthetic emotion of the heroic. Although it is predominantly found in the Veera rasa, it is also found in increasing degrees in Bibhatsa and Raudra rasas. According to Mammata, the quality Ojas leads to a glow in the form of an expansion of the heart. The last guna that Mammata mentions is Prasada. According to Mammata, this quality called Prasada pervades the mind like fire among dry fuel or like a clear and clean stream of water. Lucidity is the major characteristic of this guna and its presence is desirable everywhere. Mammata notes that Prasada guna has the ability to bring forth clearly the sense of a passage as soon as it is read out. Each of these three gunas or poetic merits accepted in the new theory is produced by a particular arrangement of letters or varna, compounds or samasa, and style of composition or rajana. To achieve the quality of Madhurya, Mammata says, the sparsha consonants, with the exception of those of the ta group, need to be combined with the last consonant of their group. Madhurya can also be achieved through the employment of consonants r and na if they are short. And finally, the compounds of medium length and harmonious diction are also used to achieve Madhurya. Mammata makes this formula simpler for us. He says that to achieve the quality called Madhurya, all consonants from ka to ma except for t, th, d and d have to be combined with the last letter of their respective groups. It can also be achieved when r and n are combined with short vowels. And finally, expressions devoid of compounds or compounds of medium length are suggestive of the quality called Madhurya. Now, how to achieve the quality called Ojas? This can also be achieved through a particular combination of letters or varna, compounds or samasa, and style of composition or rajana. It can be achieved through the combination of the first and third letters of a group with those following them, that is, with the second and fourth respectively. Through any consonant having r either above or below it, and finally through the combination of similar consonants, the entire t group with the exception of n and the consonants sh and sh. As for the compounds, Ojas can be achieved through the long compounds. The writing style that suits this quality is Babastic. Finally, how to achieve Prasada? No particular letters or compounds are rigidly reserved for Prasada. Any letter or compound can be used to achieve this poetic merit, provided the clarity of meaning is not compromised or lost. According to Mammata, clarity is the very soul of this quality. After this, Mammata takes up the crucial question that we are also eager to grapple with. Why should the number of guna be 3 only and not 10? Mammata shows 3 grounds on which he eliminates the other gunas. First, certain gunas can be included under the 3 gunas, namely Madhurya, Ojas and Prasada. Secondly, many of the gunas mentioned by scholars like Vamana are mere absence of doshas and hence they are not guna in themselves. Thirdly, some of the gunas mentioned by the predecessors are not gunas at all, rather they are doshas. In other words, they are positive doshas, as Raghavan points out. Let's take a look at each of these points one by one. We have seen that the first reason for eliminating the other gunas is that many of them can be subsumed under one of these 3 cardinal gunas, namely Madhurya, Ojas and Prasada. The first category of gunas that Mammata focuses on is Shabda Guna. Let us see how Mammata limits the number of Shabda Gunas to 3. Thus, the qualities namely Shlesha or coalescence of words, Samadhi or the adjustment of structural ascent and descent, and Udarata or the magnificence achieved by the fanciful grouping of words are all subsumed under the single quality called Ojas. The quality called Arthavyakti or the clarity and clearness of meaning is included under Prasada. Now, Mammata eliminates some other gunas on the ground that they are not gunas, rather they are just the opposites of some doshas or faults. The 2 gunas that Mammata rejects in this fashion include Sukumarata and Kanti. Mammata says that since Sukumarata and Kanti are the opposites of Parushya or harshness and Gramyata or uncouthness, they merely indicate the absence of doshas. They cannot be considered gunas per se. Finally, Mammata rejects Samata from the category of guna, citing the reason that it is not a poetic guna at all, it is just a poetic fault. For Mammata, Samatha is a dosha, not a guna, because the quality called Samatha insists on the poet's adherence to the same combination of letters from the beginning to the end. Mammata is of the opinion that it is imperative that the author should change his style according to the nature of the subject that he is treating. So, Samatha that demands uniformity can adversely impact the poetic excellence. After this, Mammata goes on to criticize Vamana's ideas of arthagunas or poetic excellence related to meaning. According to Mammata, many of the arthagunas that Vamana cites are not gunas. There is nothing positive in them. They are merely the negation of the same poetic faults or doshas. First of all, the arthaguna called Ojas, which is the presentation of an idea in such a way that the meaning appears elegant. Vamana talks about 3 ways in which this particular elegance or proudy can be achieved. First of all, through the use of a sentence instead of a word. Secondly, through the use of a word instead of a sentence. That signifies the same idea. Thirdly, through the use of words separately. Then, through the use of compounds or samastapada. And finally, through the use of effective epithet. Mammata's criticism against this arthaguna is particular. He says that this cannot be considered a guna because the second way in which proudy or elegance can be achieved, that is, through the use of a word instead of a sentence that signifies the same idea, is only Vaichitriya and it is not a guna. Similarly, prasada or the avoidance of redundant words is the negation of the defect of tautology or adhikapadatva. The same is the case with Madhurya, which focuses on Ukti Vaichitriya or deviant utterance. This is only, says Mammata, a negation of the defect called monotony. According to Mammata, the guna called Saukumarya, which is the avoidance of rugged words, is only the negation of the defect called amangalatva or cultural unsophistication. Udarata is only an absence of the defect called vulgarity or ashlilata and gramyata. According to Mammata, this is already under Dhvani. Shlesha is the combination of several circumstances or sequence of several actions. For Mammata, it is only poetic fancy. Samatha is the absence of discontinuity in terms of meaning. It is just the negation of a defect called digression. Mammata says that this cannot be considered a quality because one does not need to strive hard to achieve it. He asks, which man, unless he were mad, would ever begin with one thing and then speak of a totally different thing? The last quality of meaning that Mammata criticizes is samadhi. Samadhi is the true appreciation of the meaning as being original or imitated. Mammata says that it is not a poetic merit because it's not something that a poet can achieve. It is up to the reader to decide if a poem is original or not. Like Anandavarthana, Mammata also sees gunas as the elements simultaneously resulting from and enriching the rasas. He says, just as bravery and such qualities belong to the soul, not to the body, so also sweetness and other excellences belong to rasas. He is against the opinion that letters are the locus of rasa. The opponent makes his point that letters can produce gunas by referring to an analogy between the human body and the qualities like courage and kavya sharira and qualities of kavya. Mammata says the opponent will now argue that qualities like courage can result from the body. It does not need to come from the Atman or soul. For example, in some cases, the opponent argues, it so happens that people find bravery coexisting with the large-sized body and come to speak of the body itself as brave. In the same way, gunas can also belong to letters. It is not necessary that they need to come from the soul. Just as the body can at times reveal the qualities like bravery, so also gunas can result from the parts of kavya sharira like varna or letters. But Mammata refutes this position. He is of the view that this position cannot be considered true. He talks in extenso about the fundamental problems with this analogy. Some people having a large-sized body are brave. It is true, but it cannot function as a general truth. There are people who have large-sized body yet not courageous. Similarly, some people are also people with lean body yet they are brave. So, the qualities like courage have nothing to do with the size of one's body. Similarly, gunas have nothing to do with letters. He is of the view that this analogy therefore does not make any sense in this context. According to Mammata, letters only make these qualities perceptible to the readers. He further observes, it is in view of all this divergent usage that it has been asserted in the text that sweetness and other excellences are properties really belonging to the rasas, and what the properly selected letters do is only to render such qualities perceptible, and those qualities do not subsist in the letters entirely. Mammata then goes on to criticize two earlier views on the importance and position of gunas and alankaras. Some people are of the view that there is no difference between gunas and alankaras. The first view is that there is absolutely no difference between gunas and alankaras. According to the opponent, some people are of the view that the distinction between gunas and alankaras is the same as the difference between qualities like bravery and ornaments like necklace. While the former subsists by inheritance, the latter is present only by conjunction. The opponent is of the view that any distinction drawn between these two must be regarded as merely based on a blind tradition, a case of sheep blindly following another. So, according to the opponent, both these elements, that is gunas and alankaras, are inherent qualities of kavya. So, what is true in the case of Laukika Guna and Alankara is not so in the case of Kavya Gunas and Kavyalankara, both of which subsist by inheritance alone. In other words, there is no distinction between Gunas and Alankaras according to the opponent. Both are the inherent elements in Kavya and both add to the beauty of poetic utterance. Mamada rejects this view. He is of the view that the distinction between gunas and alankaras is as same as the difference between qualities like bravery and ornaments like necklace. While the former subsists by inheritance, the latter is present only by conjunction. Mamada is also against the view that gunas are more important than alankaras in poetry. Mamada observes, then again, some people have stated the distinction in the form that while excellence served to produce charm in poetry, ornaments serve to heighten the charm already produced. This is also not correct. According to Mamada, the gunas are always more important than alankaras in poetry. He also insists that the presence of all the gunas are necessary for the real poetic charm. These are the major points that we need to keep in our mind when we think about the theory of guna as propounded by Mamada. I hope you are thorough with all these major points. Thank you.